It's deja vu all over again for the second time in 3 nights. The New York Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to tell you how Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns helped the Knicks dominate the most valuable real estate in the game to take this one.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. Big win for the Knicks over the Nets, and yet another game this year where 4 Knicks starters score at least 20 points. Shockingly, this time, Jalen Brunson was not one of them, but it was a balanced effort. It was a dominant at the rim type of effort as the Knicks scored 50 points in the paint on their way to a romp over Brooklyn. We were going to get into it in just a sec, but first I want to remind you that today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And I also want to remind you that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. That's right. The one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox each and every day. So sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter with writing from me, from Alex, from our national NBA writers like Katie Heindale, and fantasy tips on a day-to-day basis from Josh Lloyd. It is not something that you want to miss. Speaking of not missing, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and hit that notifications bell to ensure you don't miss an episode. Like, comment, question of the day today. Who is your MVP of this one? Because I had a little bit of trouble in my head breaking it down. I'll come out with my answer in just a couple of seconds here, but I'm curious what you guys all thought. But who's talking to you? I'm Gavin Schall. I am obviously the host of the Locked On Knicks podcast, host of Locked On NBA every Saturday, and a play-by-play broadcaster. Without further ado, let's get into things. A 114-104 victory for the New York Knicks over the Brooklyn Nets. This game was kind of inexplicably close at halftime. The Knicks were up just 60-57. Part of that was that the Nets were shooting really well from three-point range. They ended up making 4 more threes than the Knicks. Outside of that, I couldn't really tell you why it was so close because it felt like the Knicks played a great first half. And that is something I want to explore further on future episodes because I feel like this has been an ongoing theme where the Knicks play crappy teams. They look really good, right? Like OG Anunoby's playing really well. Mikal Bridges is hitting enough shots. Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously his big run was in the third quarter, but he was doing a lot of good stuff in the second quarter. Josh Hart, who somehow egregiously played 46 minutes in this game, was dominating the second quarter of this one. And yet the Knicks were somehow only up by 3. They went on to pull away in the second half. Jalen Brunson picked up his play a little bit, starting to score the basketball and then repeatedly creating shots out of double teams. The Knicks, and we'll dive deeper on this in the Josh Hart section of things, used Brunson as a screener, and Hart created multiple easy shots out of that. And the Nets, after a really hot finish to the third quarter and early fourth, where Cam Johnson was banging a bunch of threes, and it just felt like everything was going down for them. The Knicks were not playing the best defense in the world. I think the biggest thing, and not that this was terrible, but they were doubling Cam Thomas in response to him going off in the previous game, and the Nets did a pretty good job once again, like they did in the tail end of game one between these teams, playing out of that, finding some points. Knicks were able to pull away. We're up by 10 for pretty much the entirety of the fourth quarter and held on without too much stress in this one. Again, not like game one. So what were sort of the key inflection points in this game? First, I think the play of Josh Hart. He was my MVP in this one. Karl-Anthony Towns would certainly be a deserving candidate. 26 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists for him. But I'm going with Josh Hart, who had his, I was going to say third straight near triple-double. He did have a triple-double 2 games ago. Last game came within a rebound and an assist. This game, 28-8, 8-13 from the field, 3-7 from 3, 1-of-1 from the charity stripe. Do I think he should have played 46 minutes? Do I think Mikal Bridges should have played 45 minutes to play a Nets team without a center in their rotation right now, unless you want to count Noah Clowney as an NBA center? No, probably not. Shouldn't have taken that much. And it is a little criminal what Tibbs is doing in terms of applying minutes onto Bridges. Anunoby was also at 40 in this game. That was all a little frustrating. But that being said, Josh Hart was amazing in the 46 minutes that he did play. He was at the center of the Knicks' big run in the second quarter that maybe not should have put this game away, but I was really impressed by and was kind of the holding piece in some of their better lineups, particularly like early fourth quarter when they brought back that Pacome Dadiet group, but this time had Hart in for OG Anunoby. He was just confident, and he's been confident, and it's been such a departure from where he was at this preseason and early this season, where you just wanted him to shoot, and he absolutely refused to. I think it might have just been a bit this preseason, but into the regular season, like he was still passing up open threes, but whatever was holding him back mentally got fixed. I think these last few games where he's hit just a bunch of clutch shots, like against the Bulls, like hit the second quarter buzzer beater, and then against the Nets, like two different shots, one to beat the first quarter, one to beat a shot clock in the third quarter, and maybe that's got his confidence up, but like caught the ball in the corner like relatively early on in this game, shot his first through, zero hesitation, and rattled it in. The defense was there right from the get-go, like an awesome like help block to save Karl-Anthony Towns when Clowney had gotten a step on him. I'm liking how they're using him offensively when the Nets decided to put like their weakest defender on him, which was Cam Thomas when they could help it. There were times where Cam Thomas could not get off OG Anunoby, and for the second straight game, OG Anunoby just bullied him. But when Cam Thomas like did have time to cross match, I guess kind of, is still not a great matchup for him, but to go against his matchup on the other end and guard Josh Hart, the Knicks responded by saying, all right, you're going to put your weakest defender on Josh Hart. That's great. Like, this is a guy who can actually run a pick and roll, and started running pick and roll between him and Cat. They got Cat either a dunk or a layup on that early. And then the aggressiveness just continued from there, where he beat a closeout to hit a runner, like had a nice like bully ball drive when he had Keon Johnson, who's like a great athlete, but just not as strong as him for an and one. And then just like a couple of like nasty finishes, one in the second quarter, one in the third quarter. He just had like a great move, blowing by Cam Johnson. And then right as Cam Johnson was closing the space between them. That's what I'm trying to say. He just had the little like Rajon Rondo, show and go, like where you like flash the ball up, defender flies by, pivot the other way, get a layup. That was gorgeous. And then, a little later on in the third quarter, just a nasty up and under on Ben Simmons in transition, where Simmons was back, and Jalen Brunson, I don't think he did the best job handling this, because he kind of telegraphed that he was going to pass it to Hart, which, to be fair, Ben Simmons, as much as he's diminished, is still a really intimidating defender, is someone who's 6'10", smart, and can still jump out the gym, maybe not quite like he used to, but can still jump quite a bit. And Hart just kind of confidently is like maybe the like best like 6'5" and under like transition weapon in the NBA, just up and under on Ben Simmons. Like it was absolutely sick. Great finish. And then down the stretch of this game, I referenced this before, but I love Tom Thibodeau, or maybe it was the Knicks assistant coach making this call, but like the adjustment to have Jalen Brunson screen for him. Like I've been an advocate for the Knicks to do this like since they've gotten Jalen Brunson, because he's obviously not Steph Curry in terms of gravity, but on the Knicks, he is sort of their Steph Curry in that like the defender is never going to want to leave Jalen Brunson, is never going to want to switch. And if you're chasing over the screen, like you need whoever Jalen's man is to stick with him, because if not, Josh Hart is just going to sling it back. Jalen's going to relocate. He's going to get a three, or someone else is going to close on. He's going to get a driving kick. Like that's too dangerous. But then if you don't switch or if you don't hedge or you don't do anything with it, like you just saw Josh Hart turn the corner twice. The first time, like he like had a ton of space and just sort of spun back and hit a little jumper. The second time, two defenders closed at the rim, and he just threw a lob to Jericho Sims. Like that was a lot of fun. I hope we see more of that down the stretch of games. I hope we see more of that early in games. We've seen Hart screen for Brunson a lot. The inverse works really well too. And then with 4 minutes left, hit a big three to make it 109-96. And at that point, I was kind of like, all right, this game is pretty much over. Hart was not the only Knick who was amazing on the night. Karl-Anthony Towns had just a monster third quarter. Showed you the full repertoire. OG Anunoby, an 18-point first half, carried the Knicks early, which has been a theme with him. And Mikal Bridges, I thought, played one of his 2 or 3 best games, maybe even his best game as a Knicks so far. We'll get into all of that next, right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, what up? We are back on Locked On Knicks. We told you about Josh Hart, why he was my MVP of this one. Next, I want to get into Karl-Anthony Towns, who has just flashed an insane offensive repertoire this season for the Knicks. And frankly, as much as I have concerns about him defensively at center and the long-term viability of that and what teams like the Boston Celtics are going to do against that, I really don't know how you guard this version of him. We mentioned it in the Bulls game against Vucevic, right, where he was just too quick, right? And he was either bombing threes or he was waiting for Vucevic to close out and then over and over again, cooking him off the dribble, blowing by him, getting to the rim. So the Nets saw that happen and they're like, all right, let's try going a little smaller, a little more athletic. And it was either Dorian Finney-Smith or Noah Clowney guarding him for the bulk of this game. And Kat said, all right, you want to try that? Bet. I'm going full big man. And he just mixed in a bunch of different stuff, like bully ball runners galore. The passing was obviously on point by those 5 assists. Again, loves the overhead. Hit OG Anunoby on a backdoor cut, ripping it around his neck to get it to him. Had another one where Campaign, this actually happened 2 plays in a row to get OG dunks, where Campaign had 2 guys go with him and then just threw it to Cat, and Cat just immediately whipped a bullet to OG Anunoby. And this is where Cat is doing his Isaiah Hartenstein impersonation, right? Orchestrating at the top of the key. And then near the rim, I counted 3 different times in the third quarter where he scored on either a jump hook or a little flip shot or a little push shot near the rim. And again, it was not quite the Hartenstein from the hip flip. I'm always going to have a lot of nostalgia for that, but he was cooking with that, and his touch is just ridiculous. And it's just such a tertiary part of his game. You're almost oh wait, he is that too. It's like the Cheesecake Factory menu, right? You're on the 8th page and you're still ordering bangers at that point. That is Karl-Anthony Towns, right? He's flipping through to the 8th page of his scoring menu, and you're like, wait, this works too. He was exceptional. He was so good in this one. And just the way he was able to manipulate on the run, had one where he was driving, saw 2 defenders there and just kind of hung out and stopped on 1 foot, knowing that there would be an opening on the other side. OG Anunoby saw it, took the lane, cut to the rim. Cat hit him with another bullet for a dunk. Those 2 have developed really, really nice chemistry. I think we mentioned during the Bulls game, him and Mikal starting to run some 2-man action. Him and OG, that is a fun duo. Him finding OG for dunks, and especially when they're playing undersized teams, again, offensively, it is just a lot of physicality, a lot of skill, and they can both, or at least this year so far, for OG, are both just shooting the heck out of the basketball. So that is a pretty deadly combination. He loves that little reverse spin. If you're sitting on him going to the middle, he'll just reverse spin the other way, get to the rim. Had another one where he spun inside and hit a double pump over Clowney. Hurt his back late in this one, so that's a little concerning. Did have an and one. Pretty quiet fourth quarter. Didn't really score in the fourth quarter, but he's just been crazy this year. I'll read out the stat line for anyone not following. 26.5 points, 12 rebounds, which is the 12.2 rebounds are the most he's had in a season since 2018-19. 3 offensive rebounds. That is the 3rd most he's had in a year in his career. 2.7 assists per game. That is not particularly close to a career high for him, but it's still not a really good number for center. And then the efficiency, that's what really gets me going. Best field goal percentage since 17-18, shooting 51% from the field, 82% from the line. And then of course the 3-point shooting, 51% he's 54% from the field. I should say, I misspoke. I was looking at his 3-point number. He's 51% from distance on 5.4 attempts per game. Do we want that number to get even higher? Yes. But right now, I'm loving the mix for him offensively, right? Attacking off the dribble, bombing threes, pick and roll threat, passer. Like he has been everything you could have wanted and more on the offensive end of the floor. No complaints, no notes defensively. Like, yeah, there's still work to be done, but I like the effort. I like the energy. Had a nice strip for a steal in this game, like quick hands. Just taking away from Cam Thomas while guarding him in the pick and roll. He was really good. Mikal Bridges is where we head to next. I'll save OG. I'll give him like his own start to the third segment. But I thought Mikal Bridges had one of his better games as a Knick. 9 for 18 from 3, 3 for 10 from distance. So he's 5 for 8 on twos. Again, like the fact that I obviously don't mind 10 threes. It would be nice to see him rise above his season average of not shooting great from there. I was going to say 30%, but I know the actual number is lower than that. So he's at 32 as my ESPN goes off here. He's now up to 32.9 from 3. So right around his season mark. You still want to see him shoot more, or not shoot more. You just still want to see him make more. The shot looked a little smoother today. I thought like he still like essentially never misses long, which I think is a bad sign, and a sign that, as I keep saying, like the power transfer is in there. And look, if any of you guys in the comments are shot doctors, we've said it a bunch, like I do not claim to be, and you can diagnose this better than I can. I would love to hear your insights. Hopefully we're going to get Benji Ridholtz or DJ Zulo on in the near future, and they can give their take on it and what's wrong with him mechanically. I do think it's worth noting that like it looks better when he's on the run. Like we've seen this a lot the last couple of games where he can just like catch in transition, 1-2 step into the shot, like nothing off the dribble, no time to think about it. Like it looks really smooth. Like he hit one early in the corner off of a Jalen Brunson kick. He had another one that was actually a wing three. Like again, like run, like toe tap, like feet down, bomb it, don't even think about it. And I think you get closer to what his form has been for the bulk of his career when he's not overthinking it and he's not like trying out this weird high release point where it goes in sometimes, but obviously from the wings, the percentages are still pretty dire from him. That being said, like I thought like just like his intensity from the beginning of this game was good. Like had a like very first points of the game for the Knicks were him getting like a pick 2, like intercepting the ball, going coast to coast for a dunk. I said on the last show, like I didn't really notice him defensively. Going back and watching some of the plays that Benji clipped and other people clipped, seems like he had a pretty good defensive game last game. I did notice him in this one. I thought his defense was ranged from solid to like very, very good, exactly what you want out of him in this game. And I think that is trending in the right direction. And that is as important as his 3-point shooting, if not even more important than his 3-point shooting. And again, like you want the like Tom Thibodeau to continue. I don't know about like the need to like design offense for him, like at a really high volume, but like you want like a couple plays a quarter that are like, hey, let's get Mikal the ball on the move. And it felt like they started doing that. Like they had him run off a cat screen, which I thought was really smart when someone like Cam Thomas is on him. Like you have a guard on him. Like it's already hard to like chase someone like Bridges just because he has such a wide catch radius and he's able to like catch on the run and just go up from mid-range with that high release, and is really tricky to block. You have a guard on him. Like obviously there's a lot of stuff you can do. We've seen him like post up guards this year. Like he can go one-on-one, though that is like clearly not something he's very comfortable doing. Like that was my only, outside of the shooting, like the only drawback with him this game is like he'll still like he got the ball after the Knicks won a challenge when OG Anunoby just bombed it off of Ben Simmons' head, and Mikal Bridges wasted it because like he got the ball with 5 seconds left. And we've seen like this is the theme with him. Like he's getting the ball in do or die situations and he's just not even looking at the basket. So that's a little frustrating. But I say that to say like where he is comfortable right now is you run him off a screen, especially with a smaller guard on him. Like he's going to have the advantage. He caught it that time, drained a jumper, hit a few more like late in this game, like where he missed the 3. Brunson ran down the offensive rebound and he just stayed confident, like ran into the pass from Brunson, hit another midi. He's automatic for mid-range. And again, the defense was really good in this one. All right, we are going to get into OG Anunoby next. We're going to get into kind of a mixed bag of a night for Jalen Brunson. I feel like that is the main thing I'm saying about Jalen Brunson lately. Another shining performance for a campaign. Seriously, I thought he was fantastic. I'm going from hater to to lover. Is that too strong? I don't know. I'll discuss it next. And Pacome Dadiet, he needs to play more. We will get into why and how and who next on the Locked On Knicks podcast. But first, we are talking Game Time. So this is an app I have spent a lot of time on the last few weeks because I moved to Arizona recently. And guess what? My Knicks, they're coming to town on Wednesday, and I've been trying to find the best possible tickets. And there's only one place to do that, and there's only one feature I want to use to do that, and that's Game Time, because they have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite live teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Seriously, I went to Game Time. I used Game Time Picks, and I saw the cheapest tickets, right? $20 to get in the building, which is amazing because it's usually like $70 to get into MSG. But I also saw like the really good deals in the lower bowl, and I was like, all right, do I want to spend $370 and be in row 8? Dead center? Maybe, because I could never get those seats in New York. I could never see this team that up close in New York. In Arizona, with Game Time Picks, I actually have the chance to. So maybe I'll splurge. Maybe that's my birthday money out the window. I don't know. I will see. But they also have some other great features, including the lowest price guarantee, which means if you find lower price tickets on another site, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, meaning that Game Time is inherently always the lowest priced ticket of any of the apps. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You can create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. All right, let's talk OG Anunoby. Ridiculous first half again. Feels like I'm saying that every single night. Like he has kind of taken on the Julius Randle role of like, all right, I'm going to carry things early while Jalen Brunson heats up tonight. Karl-Anthony Towns, some early foul trouble, went out with 6 minutes left in the first quarter, so he didn't really get a chance to get a rhythm early. OG said, no problem. I am more than qualified to kick some Brooklyn Nets booty. Let me handle that myself. And again, it's always a good sign. Like he ended up missing a layup early in the game, but like sealed Cam Thomas would have been a finish inside. Just missed it, but then made up for that quickly. I mentioned the hook pass from Cat for a jam, had a bunch of dunks early. The thing I'm loving with OG is the self-created threes. That was something that we essentially didn't see last year. It was basically only catch and shoot as far as I can remember. And this year we're seeing him catch, pump, like exaggerated sidestep, long dribble three. Like that's really fun. Had two more dunks after that first one from Cat off of Cam Payne of all people, like drawing two defenders. One was like Payne, like catching the ball on the run on a cut, like on a bullet pass from Cat, and immediately like flipping his hips, going the other way, drew two defenders with him. OG cut and Cam hit him for a dunk. And I pointed out to say, like, OG, like I described him last pod as an off-ball superstar. I am sticking with that descriptor. Like he is just a genius operating off the ball. And like has such an innate sense for when one of his teammates has created an advantage or when the eyes of his defender are off him for a split second and he's cutting and he's like, it's honestly like it's a little like prime DeAndre Hopkins. Like if you want to throw Julio Jones, AJ Green out there, just like receivers that won with like their physicality and like their body and like their ability to just box out defenders. Like that is OG right now. Like he is a bully ball wide receiver who just happens to be 6'7" and can dunk on anyone. So that was great. And then his final like two buckets of the first half, like hit a trail three to get him up to 16 in the first half. And then a snatch back long two where like he like dribbled with the right hand, put it back between the legs, step back just inside the arc. Like again, that's not stuff we saw from him last year. So he got the big contract. It didn't stop him. He kept putting in work. Lost some heat from three in the second half, but played really good defense down the stretch. Made life on Cam Thomas, certainly with some help from some double teams, but he made life on Cam Thomas, I thought, much, much harder in this one. Yeah, he was great. It's not a lot negative to say about OG. Jalen Brunson, not his best night scoring the basketball, certainly 3 for 14. 0 for 5 from 3, did not record a field goal in the first half of this game, but certainly compensated in other ways. Just one turnover, had 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. So like basically filled the box score up everywhere else. And the Knicks once again did like a really nice job like playing out of double teams. When he was doubled, like he's just kind of figured out the formula there. Like one play, like dribbling out of a trap, and found OG cutting middle for a foul line jumper. And then like you just saw this team over again, like him finding Hart and then Hart finding Mikal, like hit Hart, like quick swing to Mikal, one dribble, pull up two. That was nice. And then another time where like late in the fourth quarter, had two guys on him, dragged them out, split them with a bounce pass. He's so good at doing that. Like that is underrated. Like just his calm against the double team. Like I gotta think that was something developed like with probably the borderline child abuse Rick Brunson put him through growing up, or like just probably running through like every read a point guard could possibly make, but just an innate sense of how to buy time and keep his head. Hit Bridges hit along too. That was nice. And then I mentioned him screening for Hart. That was good too. I still want to see like Brunson like start cooking in traffic again. Like he had one really nice bucket on Schroeder where he like had a pump fake, then a reverse pivot, then hit a foul line jumper. Like we haven't really seen him like have at least like a few games in a row where he's like gotten deep into that mid-range bag. And I think he's almost being like too tempted by the open lane with Cat out and trying to get to the rim over and over again. But with the NBA like allowing more physicality at the rim, it's neutering a little bit of what he does at the basket. So I want to see him like stick with the mid-range game, like where he's not going to get fouled as much. And is just, we've seen over the years, is just a killer, is as good as anyone in the NBA, scoring efficiently on volume in the mid-range, just totally unstoppable from there. And I think that is an area where he can leverage space just as much as he can leverage space by getting all the way to the rim. I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be just fine, but overall it's been like a little bit of a rocky start for Jalen Brunson as a scorer to begin this year. All right, Pacome Dadiet, before we finish with a quick shout out for campaign. I can't really understand why he is not playing more minutes. It seems like Matt Ryan was like a short-lived experiment for Tom Thibodeau, but I didn't want to harp on it given that the Knicks won by 10, but I'll say it again, like 45 minutes for Mikal, 40 for OG, 46 for Josh Hart against this version of the Nets in a game that the Knicks felt like they were in control the entire time. I'm not going to go so far as to say it was a war crime, because you know what? There's a world where Tibbs does not play those guys that long, and this is a closer game down the stretch. Maybe the Knicks lose, but you know what? You got to give Matty Ice some run, and more importantly, just throw Pacome Dadiet out there for 20 minutes, because I know he didn't score the ball, but like he was part of my favorite lineup we saw in this game. Like in the first half, the version of it was Payne, Mikal, Pacome, OG, Cat. Second half, we got the same lineup with Hart in OG's place. If I remember correctly, Hart played some of that run in the first half in place of OG. That is a fun group. And Pacome was just really good defensively in his minutes. And that is like, I gotta take a mulligan on that one. I was saying like, I don't think he was going to be good enough on that end of the floor to warrant big minutes. Of course, it was the Nets. It was not the Celtics, but that's sort of the point, right? Like against crummy teams, like trust Pacome Dadiet, because he's earning it right now. And that has always been a blind spot for Tom Thibodeau. We can say the same thing about Ariel Hukporti, like inexplicably after playing 30 minutes last game and closing down the stretch over Jericho Sims. Now you're playing Jericho Sims over him like a night after you acknowledge that Hukporti was the better option and Hukporti blocked 4 shots. Like it just takes, it is such a high degree of difficulty for Tom Thibodeau to trust rooks, and he will generally take like safety over ceiling, which I think is his perception of the Jericho Sims, Ariel Hukporti battle. And like, the guy's not going to make mistakes, so play him. But that's my confusion with Pacome, because like, at least as far as I can tell watching live, and maybe I'll go back and I'll notice some, like I didn't see any mistakes from Pacome Dadiet. Like there was a really nice Mikal Bridges defensive possession where he navigated the screen on Schroeder, chased him exactly how you wanted. And then Pacome, because Jalen Wilson was leaking over, like swept in and helped, blocked the shot from Schroeder. That was great. That's the vision that you want with Wingstop. I know that normally refers to the other 3 wings, but Pacome getting involved, getting the swat, that was fantastic. And then another awesome defensive possession, sliding his feet with Jalen Wilson to get a stop. And like Jalen Wilson tried multiple moves. He's like, screw this. This guy is 19 years old. I'm going to kick his butt. Nope. Pacome moved his feet. It was awesome. Offensively, still a ways to go for him. Like obviously the shot looks good. Did not get to shoot at 3 in this one. Had a play where he had Schroeder in the post and just kind of forced up a tough turnaround and looked like me posting up a smaller defender pickup, where I admittedly don't really know what I'm doing in those situations. Like Pacome just looked uncomfortable. Would love to see him add like a little turnaround in his back, a little jump hook before he gets the strength to just overpower smaller guys, which I think will happen in the next 2 or 3 years. But you know what? Baby steps for Pacome Dadiet. I am super excited about him. I think he could survive on defense. I think he should play some more minutes because he's a smart defender and he's a physically talented defender. Before we wrap up, really quick shout out to Campaign. Just elite efficiency in this one. 17 minutes, 9 points, and 6 assists. You want to throw a per 36 on that? What is that, like 18 and 12, 19 and 13? Like he was really, really good in this one. I was a hater early on, right? I was saying play Tyler Kolek. This guy's a chuck. I'm seeing the vision now that the jumper is falling. I mentioned creating those 2 dunks for OG early on in this game by drawing 2 defenders. And then like great end to like the first quarter, like a walk down 3 to buy like a 2-for-1, and then a nasty pull up 3 to start the fourth after he hit another one late in the third. Like he is confident right now. Like he's bringing energy, he's bringing pace. Like his play, especially sans Deuce McBride again. It was totally invaluable. All right, Tom Thibodeau, play guys less minutes. The Knicks still have to clean up some stuff in transition defense. I wrote down like a whole bunch of notes on that, but you know what? Like it was ultimately kind of irrelevant in this one. Like the Knicks like still have to get sharper on that end of the floor. They have to stop giving up buckets after they make layups. Like that has been like a weird, frustrating theme in this game. You still see like the occasional like cascade in a bad pick and roll coverage where like Cat is up a little too far and Bridges like goes over a screen, and then Hart has to stay home. And that play in particular led to a Cam Johnson 3 because Dadiet was in a 2-on-1 and there was like a pin and screen and there was a kick out and Cam Johnson got a 3. I know I'm not explaining that in depth enough. Just watch the beginning of the fourth quarter if you want to see that. Point is there's still stuff to clean up. There's still stuff to work on. But outside of the heavy minutes, this was a pretty good win for the Knicks over a Nets team that I think someone was ripping me in the comments for calling them bad. I think they will be bad. Right now they're pretty good because Cam Thomas is a monster scorer and they play hard and they're really well coached and they have a lot of guys that can shoot the basketball. So I'm going to call this a good win for the Knicks. Hopefully they have a few more against somewhat weak competition. But that is it for this episode of the Locked On Knicks podcast. We will be back, or at least Alex will be back with you tomorrow to recap the Wizards game, and then we'll be together Tuesday and Wednesday to recap the game against the Suns. That'll be super fun. So we'll talk to you really soon on Locked On Knicks.